Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday night, and that means it's Paranormal Lens night. I'm here with Jamie Widener. I'm Chad Thomas. I'm the host tonight. Jamie's my co-host. Jamie, how are things going?
It's good. It's Tuesday. What could be wrong?
Exactly.
I usually on Tuesdays I usually joke at work at least the second Monday, but today was not so much. So it's actually a Tuesday. So the week is moving. Let's do it.
It is, yeah.
And I think you might want to share a little bit about your weekend, though.
Yeah, I went to Gettysburg. We had the Gettysburg Bash. They held the Gettysburg Bash. It's a fundraising event for some charities, and it went really well. I don't remember the total number, or the amount of money raised, but it was pretty good from what I remember. I popped in on Friday. It wasn't as busy Friday, and then I popped in Saturday evening and saw a bunch of great people. Kyle and his wife. I saw Jenny. Spent a lot of time talking to Jenny, working some things out. Hopefully, we got some things in the works with that, Jamie. You know what's going on.
Yes, excellent.
Hey, Jim. Got to spend some time with Ron and Lourdes and Tony and Cherie and the other part of their team that does their podcast. And I'm drawing a blank, and I am so sorry. Todd,
a lot of faces, a lot of names. Sure,
yeah,
sure.
So Todd and Carmela, definitely got to spend some time with them. So Chris Mendez, Hammy, all the people were there, Jamie, except for
the who's
you.
Who. All the cool kids, except, well, I'll just say all the cool kids were there. I'm not a cool kid. So. I wasn't there. So,
yes, Chris and Audra, all good. And Jamie, Jenny was pitching that we go on their podcast and be part of their roundtable. So,
okay.
I think she's talked him into talking about it. So,
excellent. Well,
it'll be a fun evening. So yeah. So I'm sorry, Chris and Audra. Too many people, too many faces. So yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys. I with respects to the weekend, I went north and y'all went west. So once again, just like what time we were down at Fort Mifflin, you guys were heading west, we were heading south. So, it's just one of these days. I will prove that I actually exist. I promise.
I said that people are starting to think you're a bot, Jamie. Like,
nobody would make a bot like this. Like, come on now.
So, but it was a great experience. It's always good to see everybody. I saw John Covey, Scotty the Medium, all the people that all our friends. So it was definitely it was good experience. So I want to thank everybody for making a great time. Staticom is progressing along. Definitely got some interesting hits. Can't wait to talk to Jenny about the investigation that they had after the bash, because apparently her room had some interesting things going on, and they did an investigation in there. So
I saw a post, I think, from Cherie Rathman of Tony setting up Staticom there. So that was, I didn't get the output of it, the end result of it yet either, but I'd be very curious to hear that. So Jenny, you got a story to tell. Okay. At some point.
So I think, and Todd says he's thinking it was a 20,000. So,
good.
So
very good.
So yeah, it was definitely an event, and can't wait to go to more things like that, and just experience the community, because it is such a great community to be part of. So
absolutely.
So
that's what I've said this so many times over, Chad, and I'll say it again and again and again. We're all friends here. There's room for everybody. Everybody's got something unique that they do, and everybody's got a different perspective. And the more the merrier when it comes to the field. I think these kind of events show that it's not just the folks who are there, like the presenters and the exhibitors and stuff, but the attendees as well. The enthusiasts who everybody gets. If anybody's ever been out in the field, you're in the club. And it's unique, and I think that's really cool. So I'm excited to get to the next one.
Yep. So I got to sat in to see a Paranormal Roundtable, Steve Dills, Greg was there.
Steve was there. It must have went like 4 or 5 hours.
No, they limited. Kelly Miller was moderating and kept it to an hour. Less, actually, I think it was about 45 minutes.
Wow.
So that was good. Then I saw one on psychics and things like that as well. So very, really interesting topics. And I don't know if you saw it or not, but Fort Mifflin has named their new executive director.
Yes,
so
I saw that
that's
this week.
exciting news. So check that out on Facebook. So that means they are going to be starting again booking in August 1st. So,
perfect.
So we will definitely be getting on that list. I talked to Greg and he's like, just reach out. So
excellent. That is so full. Well, obviously we've done it already, but to some degree, but the full experience is coming. So
Kyle was on that panel as well.
Cool.
Sorry, Kyle, didn't mean to short you. And Sabrina Marie was also on that panel. Another interesting person that I'd like to talk to more. You've heard of, what a doula is, right? Jamie helps with childbirth and things like that. Sabrina Marie is a doula who helps people as they're passing on, like as they're dying, pass on and cross over. So she's actually able to open portals. So there may be a tie to a topic that I know we want to talk about there. So
cool.
So
all right.
So anyway, there was a lot going on this weekend. So
just for the record, Jim, the Bushkill Falls and Pocono Canyon. Poconos is a big place. So my little corner of it this weekend was Toby Hanna and the area around it. So Pocono Pines, etc. So got a really good pizza shop, Pocono Pines Pizza Shop, actually. So I will recommend that to anyone in the area. And they have gluten-free stuff, so it made everybody happy.
That's good.
And then the Toby Hanna State Park was our haunt, for the weekend. I heard some spooky noises at night, and I realized it was just somebody down the road playing some loud music at 1 a.m. But what happens in the Poconos stays in the Poconos.
So, Kyle, since Kyle's here with us too, I want to give Whitehill a shout out. They are starting their own podcast on Thursday nights on YouTube, I believe. So check that out. Subscribe, sign up, all those things. So, but yeah,
really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited that there's more going on in the podcast world, and definitely can't wait to see what they have to share. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw that earlier today, and I didn't get a chance to dig too deeply into the day and time, but I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. So,
so
you got at least one subscriber.
So cool. So you're going to present tonight? Oh wait, no, that's me, isn't it?
My 2 in a row has ended. My streak of 2 has ended with tonight. So I think you want to talk about something slightly controversial.
Maybe
a little off the beaten path.
Yep. So Bert's going to give us some an assignment here. So
all right, Bert. There's a slight what's the word for it? It's not a fee, but it's there might be an upcharge for the scheduling, the shipping and handling of your trip.
Jim, I am not talking about cow tipping. That's a whole thing here in Lancaster County that I'm not going to get into. But anyway, what it is table tipping. So you were close. So as Jamie said,
tables are brown, cows are brown. They have legs.
So the subject at hand tonight is table tipping. It's known by multiple names: table turning, table lifting, table tapping, table tilting, or table tipping. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines table tipping as the lifting or manipulation of a table during a seance attributed to the agency of spirits. So now, before I'm digging into the table tipping itself, I want to define a few things. First, table tipping requires somebody who can act as a physical medium. So what is a physical medium, or what is physical mediumship? That is described on his website by Richard Studle as anything happening of a physical nature that can be perceived by the medium and others present. There are many things that fall into this category, including but not limited to automatic writing, Ouija boards, telekinesis, transfiguration, and levitation. Table tipping is considered part of a seance, and the word seance comes from an old French word meaning to sit. There are several different types of seances, which include religious, stage mediumship, spiritualist, informal social, and what our topic falls into, leader-assisted seances. Heather, why am I not surprised?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like, the southern end, that's what you do.
Uh-huh.
So, gosh,
Well,
oh gosh.
I'll have to admit it was an Adams County thing too, because I know friends who went.
Right. Yeah,
So,
it's up here too. It's
yeah.
the northern end of the county as well. So for those listening, it can't see. We had a comment that was someone admitted to going cow tipping, and if you don't live in a rural or farm community, you may not understand. But cows sleep standing up, and so when in the middle of the night, it is a prank to pull up to a farm field somewhere and find some cows and give them a good shove, and it takes a good hard shove, and it will simply fall over. The key to success on this, though, is to run like hell afterwards, because they're not happy when they wake up and hit the ground. So you got to book it out of there, and hopefully you don't slip and slide in any cow patties, too, which is an occupational hazard, or being in the field. But yeah, it's a thing.
Yep. So anyway, moving on.
Okay. Yeah. Sidetrack over. Sorry.
So if you've never seen or taken part in table tipping, here's the basic setup. Typically a round table with 3 legs or a pedestal is used. The medium and several other people sit around the table. They lightly place their fingers on the table. As the energy builds, the table may begin to vibrate and then even shake. When enough energy has been transferred to the table, it may tip or even move around the room. Once the energy is built up, questions are asked. For yes or no question, the table tips once for no and twice for yes. For more complex answers, the alphabet is read out as the table tips. When it stops, the last letter read becomes part of the message. There have been some reports of tables twisting and moving around the room to the point where the participants have to stand up and move with the table to keep their hands on it. Other reports talk about tables that have been flipped over during a session. That all sounds pretty extreme, to me at least. And just like dowsing rods and other things, each medium has their own way of interacting with the table. So it may, like some of the things that I read talked about the table twisting or for yes and no. Other people may have, like, it may be once for yes for somebody and twice for no. It all depends on how the spirits communicate with that person. So there is no set and fast rule. So where did all this come from? According to encyclopedia.com, table turning is one of the oldest forms of spirit communication that we know of. In 4th century Rome, a table was documented that had letters engraved in the top, and a ring was suspended over it that would swing to letters and spell out messages. Now, this feels more akin to the Ouija board to me, but it was listed in with table tipping. The modern version of table tipping seems to date back to the mid-19th century in the United States. It comes into existence shortly after the Fox sisters' rapping experience. It spread through America and was introduced to England by professional mediums. One example of this was in 1852 when Maria B. Hayden presented a session in London along with a lecture on electrobiology. It was soon discovered that a professional medium was not required to do this. Small groups of people would gather and try to recreate the phenomenon on their own. In the early 1850s, it was not uncommon to have a table tipping session with afternoon tea. As you can imagine, fundamentalist ecclesiastics saw this as the work of the devil and denounced any participation in it. At the same time, scientists and doctors believed that this was dangerous to one's mental health. A committee was formed to find a non-spiritual answer for what was happening. On June 11th, 1853, it was declared in the Medical Times and Gazette that the movement was due to unconscious muscular activity. English scientist Michael Faraday, of the famed Faraday cage, actually built a device using special rollers to prove that it was human interaction and not spirits that were moving the table. This consisted of two boards that were separated by glass rollers and held together with rubber bands. Between the rollers and the boards, a piece of hay or a scrap of paper was inserted. By looking at which paper was released, it could be determined which board was moved, and therefore whether it was the table or hand that moved. So this was placed on the table and the hands were placed on top. It was always the piece of paper between the roller and the top that was released, proving that it was the hands that moved, not the table. These beliefs and discoveries seemed to bring an end to the widespread practice of table tipping fairly quickly. Over the years, many fraudulent people have conducted table tipping seances. It was proven that they controlled the table by specialized rigging. One method was to drive a small pin into the table, which hooked onto a ring that the medium wore, or a simple butter knife was placed up the medium's sleeves. The knife was hooked under the table, and this was used to cause movement. Another method was controlled by the medium wearing a special boot that allowed them to control the table. This was to guarantee that they would be able to get answers for people and charge them for their services. This would have employed what is known as a cold read, and people actually provided the mediums the answers that they wanted. Harry Houdini debunked a Boston medium known as Marjorie. During a seance that he attended, he caught her using her head to lift the table. Now you have to keep in mind that during these seances, all the lights were turned out and the room was dark. Houdini was supposed to keep his hands on the table, but as it was levitating, he reached under the table and felt Marjorie manipulating it. I found a YouTube video done by Kenny Biddle on table tipping. In the 30-minute video, he was able to debunk methods that were used on 3 different types of tables. The tables were a folding card table, a folding TV tray table, and a small 3-legged table. Now, he chose these 3 tables because that's what he had seen a lot of videos on the internet using and being manipulated. And so he sort of wanted to tackle these 3 and see what he could do. He was able to demonstrate making them move around the room, tip and levitate 2 to 3 inches off the floor, all while keeping just his fingertips on the table. Now, I do want to point out that these were all small, light tables, and he was working by himself. So once you start adding 2 or 3 people to it, I feel like you're going to change the dynamics a little bit, but he was able to do it by himself. I want to say his video was pretty convincing. There definitely seems to be plenty of evidence that points to table tipping being a simple parlor trick. Materialistic science wants things to be proven by the scientific method. They want to see a repeatable result in a controlled experiment. I just don't see that happening anytime soon with anything paranormal, but that's an entirely different episode.
Yeah.
I looked for information from a medium who practices table tipping. I found this description on a website from Lavender Lotus, a center for healing and awakening, written by Linda Wolf. The text comes directly from their website. Table tipping is a method of that physical mediums use to connect with or channel beings from the spiritual realm, including spirit guides, angels, and also family members and loved ones who have passed over to the other side. I have also connected with and received messages from animal spirits. It is a powerful and gentle and fun way to receive information, guidance, love, healing, and confirmation. We all have many spiritual guides and the angels around us who delight in helping us heal, awaken, and move forward on one's soul journey. Here's how it works with me. All participants place their hands lightly on my tipping table, a small, round, 3-legged or pedestal table. I will invoke or call in my table tipping guides, spirit angels, and spirit guides in order to make a connection with the other side. I connect with the energies of the table. I connect with the energies of my table tipping guides and channel their energy through my hands onto the table. This creates the movement. I ask my guides to tip the table when they are ready and feel we are ready. Once the connection is made and the table tips, we can then ask questions and the table will move, guided by the spirit we are connected with. One way for yes, another way for no, and yet another way for an in-between answers, such as need more clarity. Sometimes other interesting movements that can be dramatic happen as well. Sometimes your guides and angels will literally bring healing energy to you through the table. Even though the answers are yes, no only, with a skilled physical medium, you can receive very specific information. Please note, this is not spooky or like some seances you see in a movie. It is a very spiritual, loving, fun, safe, and amazing process. My sessions may include some mental mediumship too, though there's no guarantee of this. If I receive information this way, I will happily pass it along to you. Table tipping is a wonderful method for receiving guidance on any issues you may want to explore. You as a client are an actual participant in the process, which makes it more personal. I never ever tire of the connection with the spiritual realm, and I am constantly amazed and humbled by the profound connections with my own spirit guides, angels, and ascended masters, as well as yours. And it is always not only a pleasure, but a blessing to connect with the spirits of loved ones who have passed on. Words are inadequate to describe this experience. It is always incredible and often emotional for all of us. Table tipping is just one of the available tools I use for sessions. I use this tool frequently, but not always. So that's the end of their description. Now, I'm not quite finished with tonight's episode, but Jamie, I'm going to pause here for a moment and just, how are you feeling about this? What are you thinking? Is it paranormal?
Yeah. Well, I mean that was all very flowery and very brochure, friendly bit there. But I'm skeptical, and I'm skeptical in general. With the field. So I want some evidence. I want to see something. So and I have not experienced a table tipping session. So bear with me to say this much.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm in the room, my first draw is to see, okay, who's touching what and how, or whatever, where the manipulations, that could be happening. Is the table skirted? Is there a cloth over it? So can you see the rest of it? The stepping back to a few minutes ago, at least, talking about Houdini.
Right.
We're going to have an episode actually about Houdini and someone he hired named Rose Meckenberg, and their efforts to clear up the field a bit for the falsehoods, that were happening,
Right.
and scams that were occurring, and he had a personal reason for that in his own family situation. So, but that's the problem, right?
Right.
If there is someone who is, and it's like falsifying evidence in an investigation, like just you can't do it and still have any ethics or be considered to be a serious principle in the activities that you're doing. So, I think that your reputation is the one true thing that you have that you can protect and cultivate and grow, and by the good things that you do. And maybe that's a little naive, but it's an ethos that I live with in my own, personally. So no, it will carry into the things that I do. So I'm challenged here, to fully believe, but I can't say it doesn't happen either. It's not real.
Okay.
I just need to see it.
Right. If we were going to end here, I would probably feel the same way. But Heather is the perfect segue for me. So to be open and honest, when I was making plans to go to the Gettysburg Bash in 2022, I saw that Stephanie Burke was going to be doing a table tipping seance. I was sort of just getting back into the paranormal field then, and I wanted to soak up as many experiences as possible, so I signed up. So just going to go through the whole story here. Stephanie had flown in and was not able to bring her table along with her, but she was supposed to borrow a table from someone. When we arrived in the room, the table that she had used the night before was missing. So she managed to track down another table to use for the session. Now, the point I wanted to make there was it wasn't her table. So if her table was rigged, she didn't have that originally. Yep. Second of all, the table that she'd used the night before and had for another session wasn't there. So this was a cold read because it was a brand new table that somebody had just they managed to bring it in for her session.
You just brought one. You have an extra one in the car, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think, and somebody had actually, they pulled it out of their car because they were packing up to leave. It was Sunday afternoon. It was,
Okay.
So anyway,
Sure.
there were about 25 of us in the room when we started. She asked for volunteers to sit at the table. Of course, I stepped up to see what it was all about. So Stephanie and her partner, Scott Porter, from Wraith Finders or Wraith Chasers or whatever that show is, was at the table. They sat side by side, so they weren't sitting across the table. They intentionally sat side by side, so people couldn't say that they were countering forces on the table. And I think 3 other people joined them. So to start, she brought out a glass of some sort and turned it upside down and put it on the center of the table. She asked us all to place one finger on the glass, so there were 5 fingers on the glass. She spoke and called the spirits to communicate with us. As she did, the glass began moving around the top of the table. It was slow at first, and then it picked up speed, and it was like, there were times that it was hard to keep our fingers, like it was flying across the table so fast that it was hard to keep our finger on it. It went from edge to edge. It would also twist under our fingers. We did this for about a minute and then stopped. Once the glass stopped, it was removed, and then we were asked to put our fingertips gently on the table. She then asked if there were any spirits who wanted to communicate. Her typical response was for the table to tip twice on 2 legs for yes and tip once for no. When the table answered yes, she asked if there was a loved one who wanted to communicate with someone in the room. It answered yes again. She instructed the spirit to tip the table as she went through the alphabet, looking for the first letter of the name of someone in the room. This was done until we narrowed it down to a specific person in the room. If they weren't at the table, they replaced someone who was at the table. They were then able to ask questions to figure out who was communicating with them. Once that was confirmed, they could then ask questions for anything they wanted answers from that person. Everyone in the room got a chance to communicate with a loved one. It was not always the people they expected to come through. For me, it was my mom. I asked some general questions and got the expected answers. I asked if she was happy with the way my father was keeping the house. I knew the answer would be no. I did this as a test. I figured that most people asking this question would expect a yes answer. So if the table answered yes, I would know that it was being forced by someone. It responded no, like I expected it to. The other thing that happened multiple times that the table would hug someone by tipping almost completely into their lap. What made this interesting is that it was a 3-legged table, and with 5 people sitting around the table, it had to rotate to fall in someone's lap. When the session was over, Stephanie cut ties to close the communication. She stressed that it was very important to know how to open and close the circle and that we shouldn't try this on our own. I sat at the table for several rounds of communication, and I was exhausted when I left. In 2023, I signed up to do the session again. This time she had driven and brought her own table. She told us a story about how her table picked her. I don't remember the details, but it had something to do with walking through an antique store and the table moved or fell to get her attention. The experience for me was very much the same as the year before. The only difference from the first year was the time of day. The first year was in the afternoon, and the second year was at night. I will admit there were some very emotional experiences during these sessions. I think part of it was my empathic abilities coming through with all the energy that was in the room, but there were several other people in tears throughout the night. Having experienced this, it makes it really difficult for me to come to a decision. With just research, I would say it's not real, but having experienced it, I don't know. Some things were just too real. Maybe I was bamboozled, but I don't think so. I have thought about trying it myself, but have trepidations about that. I would definitely want to research opening and closing the circle correctly. The other thing to keep in mind that my friend Kelly Miller reminded me of this weekend is that intentionally giving your energy to spirit could be dangerous. That being said, I'm interested in learning more. The only place I know locally is in Waynesboro at the historic Hoover House. I met the person who leads the table tipping there. He has only been doing it for a few years, but claims to be good at it. I'm not going to be a judge, as I never worked with him. So, like I said, that's the only place I know of locally that does it. I do want to call out my sources for tonight's research that I haven't mentioned earlier is theguardian.com, americanhauntingsinc.com, and lisabusone.com. So now that being said, Jamie, that's a personal experience that I had. The room wasn't dark. There were 20 people watching the 5 people around the table. The table did not have a cloth on it. It definitely moved, twisted, spun. Like it was an experience.
And there's a difference, right? When you hear about something, but then when you see something, you experience it yourself. We all have the ability to create, your mind's eye, projects what we think it's going to be, what it should be. We have this perception, and it's based on, the things we may have seen, obviously the things we heard, things we may have read, but there's a difference. But it's just it's the the book learning versus the practical hands-on learning.
Right.
It's different. The pace is different of all of it. So I think that's a cool perception to have now that you've seen it like twice, and you were in the room.
Right.
I just had a Hamilton, in the room where it happened, popped in my head. And that's where I'm not there yet. So, and I'm still on the outside of it. And I think Todd's comment and Todd and Carmela's comment a moment ago the same way. I'd like to see it.
Right.
If I ever get to the dang bash, I will. But there obviously that's a year away. There's lots of time between now and then. So I will try my best to get to some, to experience this. So, I question for you. Well, first of all, I want to give you some credit. You used the triple word score, bamboozled. So, and then followed it up with trepidation. You were scoring big on Scrabble tonight. The thing, I guess, from you, my question, and what I'd like to know from you is, what, been there, done that now, right?
Right.
What was the immediate takeaway from your first experience? Like, I get you said it, but emotionally, and I get that, we all have attachments to people and things that are gone from us now, right? And if there's a chance to have that engagement, that conversation, that one last time kind of moment, it's powerful, and the belief of that is powerful, that it could happen, or it is happening. And that's where the problem is, right? Because if it's being played against you, you're going to take the bait and you're going to run with it, and you're going to get as much line as they leave you to have until they pull you in, and then you're on that hook, and hopefully you're not out, hard-earned money. But you're certainly out emotions and emotional, the angst of all of it. And that's worse, perhaps, because money is replaceable. It always is, but you can't go back. Once it's out the bottle, your emotions are gone, and they're around us. I guess that's, I'm circling here. I'm going to land, I promise. But with that, your first experience, reading the room the way you did, do you believe it or not?
I want to say yes. There were things. First of all, like, I don't know. It's hard. Not even sure where to start. Stephanie has been practicing mediumship since she was 13, so she's been doing this a long time. And again, like, this happens a lot. It runs in her family. Her mother and her grandmother were both mediums, so it runs in the family. There were things that were shared. One was a missing ring, like where to look for a missing ring. other things that were missing, like just like I don't know how you would have been able to read that information from somebody, to do a cold read from it. Now, obviously, you're asking leading questions because it's just yes or no, but it just it seemed pretty genuine. And I'm a skeptic, and that was one of the reasons I asked the question, that I wasn't going to have the common answer. And apparently, if I remember correctly, 2 or 3 other people did that as well, because Stephanie actually made a comment about, oh, well, it looks like people are trying to trick us, because that's not the answer I would have guessed. So now, does that mean that they were tricked? I don't know. It's feeling the emotion from the room. Yes, I think it was true. It was honest. And both times I got that feeling. There was something happening there. And like I said, we weren't in the dark. It was, you know how those conference rooms are. Even when you pull the curtains you can't get them dark.
Right.
So,
well, here's the other side of that. Let me say this then, because here's where it is for me, and based on what you just said, I will trust someone's opinion more than I will like information like the website you read,
right.
the sales pitch from the place. And with due respect to that, obviously you have to put something out there to let people know what this is, what to expect.
Right.
So there's always information. I will always trust someone. Well, I trust people, right? I trust you, and I will value your opinion of the situation more, especially as you've had contact to it and context to it, than I will like watching a YouTube video or this or that, because again, it's, you don't see it, you don't feel it, you don't have it it's not in your spectrum, but we've worked together for so long now, that I value and trust your opinion, and I will believe, if you believe something, I have to believe it's real as well. And that's a big difference, right?
Right.
And it's hard to not believe when you're in a room and everyone's having a moment. It's hard to not to be in the moment with them. And that's kind of cool too. I think that's something that has weight, and
Right.
as long as the action is legit, and that's the important part.
So, I want to address Jim's question.
Jim's question is here pretty good. Could it be connected to telekinesis ability?
I think spirit, like physical mediumship, it covers telekinetic ability and table tipping. So could it be tied? Yes, I believe it could be.
Sure.
Another thing that I start to question is, Faraday proved that it was minute muscle movements moving the table. Those muscle movements come from the subconscious. The subconscious is also sometimes tied to our spiritual conscious connection. Is there something happening there? I'm not going to dig into that completely, but
that's another episode.
That's a whole nother episode.
A whole nother one.
So there's some possibilities there that maybe the muscle movements are controlling it, but what's feeding the muscle movements?
Right.
I don't know. So, Todd and Kamala's comment here too, it's sort of how I feel like seeing that information, that some people signed up at the last minute, so how they wouldn't have had time to research, or it just.
Sure. Yeah, and just for those who aren't watching, the comment is, if you get proprietary information to that individual whom the medium isn't privy to, then that leads me to believe, and I have to agree with that too. Like, there's just some things, it's a fluid process, right? So if something comes up that's not in the script, how's it get? Obviously, people know how to improv. It happens. Right. It's part of a lot of things that we all do. We improvise on the daily. With something that doesn't go to plan, but you have to be really good and really lucky, I think, in order to be able to maneuver like that and hold up a charade of some kind. So it also tends to take me in that direction as well. But I tend to believe that. Good point, Todd. Carmela, thank you.
So, and any other comments or thoughts from our live audience?
I do
Do you
want
have any
to step back. I want to step back to this. So Heather did ask me a while ago, how do you know how hard to push a cow over? You don't is the answer. You just hope you get it right the first time. So,
Jamie, I think the question was, how do you know how hard to push a cow over?
don't either. That's my point. You get a running start. That's the answer.
So,
so many memories. Jeez.
So, it's one of those things. I would definitely encourage people to try it, and if you have an opportunity to go see a session, and try it with different people. Sure, if you get a chance to try it with 2 or 3 group leaders, see what each experience is like. And there are some places that I don't know about around here, but there are some places that do classes in this. There's some churches that do classes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So Jenny's question is, I've always believed poltergeist activity was created by the energy of living people. So why not a table? My mind is opened. Thank you.
That's a good point too.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, any more thoughts, Jamie? What do you?
Well, obviously I think I've said what I can say here. I'm without having done it, I am still skeptical, but I'm open to the idea that it's legit, for lack of a better way of saying it, and it is something that will be if true and if honest and everything is as above board as it appears, a fantastic way to contact and connection and a whole other realm of opportunity in the paranormal field if done legitimately and is legit. And that's the challenge, right? And I'm going to say it's the thousandth. I can't even say that word gazillion times. I'm a skeptic. I will always tell you that first. So I do want to see how it works. I want to understand it better before I fall to it. And it's still different if we're out in the field in the investigation. I want to make sure what I just saw couldn't have been something else, or what we captured couldn't have been something else. How many times we've experimented over and over trying to debunk something, to finally say, okay, that's unexplainable, therefore it's paranormal because it's not normal anymore. So it's just that thing for me. But I just got to get out and do it. So I have no more excuses.
And Todd and Carmela's comment is, have an open mind like any other type of experience that we have during an investigation.
Yeah.
So
that's a great point. Yep.
Jim commented that I've been told things by mediums at the mill that knew nothing about me, and that has opened my mind. So
very cool.
Yeah. And Heather agreed with Jenny on the activity, the poltergeist activity energy. So yeah, I mean, I think we all seem to be at the same point. That's keep an open mind and try to experience it for yourself and see what you find. So maybe we'll have to find somebody who can come do a session at the brewery or something, Jamie.
Yeah.
So
that would be fantastic.
So, okay.
All right. If anybody knows anybody, get them here.
So.
There you go.
Yep. Heather says, make sure you do it with people we know and trust at the table. So, all right. Well, let's look at what's coming up.
Yeah,
Jamie, you take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one because you can't say that first one.
Exactly.
Well, I've been saying it wrong too. So, next week's episode is going to be on, and I can say the first part right because it's been saying it all along, the Hoya, and then the Bacay Ayu forest, which is Romania's Transylvania. Well, it is in Transylvania actually, but it's their Bermuda Triangle. It's a forested area that is between a couple points. Of course, it makes the triangle that unusual activities of paranormal claims and UFO sightings and all kinds of strange disappearances. Some unique mystery in this spot for a very long time. So we're going to tackle that next week. And then 2 weeks out, Chad is going to tackle the Laurel Hill Cemetery in Philadelphia. I believe you mentioned last week it's under a lot of names through the years, but currently at Laurel Hills, it's no name now. And that's a listener submission, I believe, by Todd and Carmela. So thanks, guys, for queuing us up with a good episode. After that, I will tackle Tulpa. And I don't want to say a whole lot here. I just started researching it yesterday. But it is quite an interesting concept that actually has ties in Buddhism. After that, we will talk about the folklore of Ireland and the puka. And it's hurricane season, so I want to talk about Haunted Pawleys Island in North Carolina coming up on September 3rd. And we have more after that, but there's only so much room on the screen. So I think we're full up for the year, aren't we, Chad? If I'm not mistaken, I saw the schedule recently.
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close. Okay.
There may be some things we switch in and out, but yeah,
we always can.
And
it's a good point to say that we're always open to the ideas that you guys may want to see or hear something from us. We're happy to just shoot us a message. We'll share an email address here in a minute. Then we can always squeeze stuff in and slide stuff around. So always happy to stay current that way with what's on your mind as well.
So there you go, Jamie. Jenny's looking forward to the Tulpa show. It's funny. I actually heard Tulpa mentioned a couple times while I was at the bash this weekend.
Well, you're timely then.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I didn't have to be there to be on point. So
yeah. I was going to say too, we have to figure out what's going on because is it Christmas Day or Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are episodes this year. So we may have to do something different or challenge the tradition of doing stuff with their families, whatever. I mean, so we always do that stuff.
So we'll see.
Oh man, I'm glad nobody can hear me. And coming up real soon, we have our spectacular event happening at the brewery on October 19th. We started talking about this last week, even the week before. We finally got the dates past September 7th up for activity. But man, oh man, this one's going to be fun. Daryl Marston's coming in from A&E's Ghost Hunters. He's been to the brewery a couple times now. And also, you heard us mention Ron and Lourdes with Staticom. They're coming in from North Jersey, making the trek down to Lancaster County, PA here. And we're having a big night of investigating with us as the team, with Jotnick's Paranormal, of course, our team, but also sessions where you get to investigate with these guys as well. It is going to be fun and funky and cool. And I'm just so looking forward to it. I don't want October to come because it's like it happens so fast. Like, the spooky season, it seems like it's a blink and it's over. And then you're like, oh, now it's going to snow. But which is okay, cool, whatever. That's somebody's fun, but I'm a spring and summer guy myself. But that is just going to be here before we know it. So if you're at all interested in coming out, tickets are available on the Boobies website. There is lodging available at the site as well. They have a kind of a bed and breakfast gig upstairs, and they have an Airbnb across the street at the Malt Baron Mansion. So there's all kinds of different ways to be here, plus regular hotels in the area. And it's going to be a fun night. Make a weekend of it. Come and hang out, enjoy the brewery itself. You have live entertainment Friday nights. And great food, great beer. It's a brewery after all. So really cool stuff here, and lots of other stuff to do around Lancaster County as well. If you let me know you're coming, maybe, just maybe, we can figure out a cow tipping session. Not the same as table tipping, but maybe. I'll have to find the right field.
We'll see. But
we'll look into it.
So, I did run into Daryl. He was at the bash. He's looking forward to it. Ron and Lourdes are definitely looking forward to it. So it's going to be a great night.
Very cool. And yes. So Todd and Carmela gave a comment here that did a little birdie say Jotnick's is at White Hill Mansion this Saturday evening, and enjoyed the show and topic. Thanks for that, and have a great weekend, everyone. Yes, our Jotnick's Eclipse team, our sister team, is heading off with Chad Thomas, our co-host, our host tonight. Is heading off. They're going.
We're going to be there.
They're going to get there. And then So we'll have some more fun to talk about next week. A little bit ahead of we'll do a little bit wrap up on that before we get into the episode. But
So
yeah, I'm a little
I
jealous on that one too.
well, I'm a
Um,
little bummed because our good friend Kyle will not be there. He's going to be away
right.
camping this weekend, but
Well, hey, he deserves it.
he
That guy
does.
worked
Mhm.
hard, So, and White Hill is such a fantastic place. If you have not yet been, it is a gem, and it is tucked away in a neat place where there is really no pollution or any kind of extra. It's right along the rivers. Occasionally, you hear a train and an Amtrak train go down along the tracks, but it's quick and easy and gets out of the way
Mhm.
real quick.
Yeah.
There's no direct neighbors. It is nice and quiet. You don't have to worry about the sound pollution that you get in other places. There's no light pollution. There's no cars going by. It
The
is really a
toilets are
gem.
in the toilets are in the building next door, so there's no flushing of toilets.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for that
You
reminder.
know where I'm going there.
Yes, I do.
I saw
Sugar
our good
Shack.
friend Andy Andrews too this
The
weekend.
Sugar Shack situation, yeah. Oh, Andy, we love you. We do. That was such fun. But and in that, you're in you bring your group, so you're not in a cattle situation like you would at a major establishment where there's various groups around and you run into each other, and you're just not sure what you're getting is legit as far as evidence capture. So. And it's a really cool place, and it's active, and it's
Mhm.
cool and fun. I even want to say cool one more time. It's cool. Did I mention it's cool? It's cool.
You did. So,
So please check it out if you ever get a chance. It's
well,
really
and
easy in the Philly area. It's really easy to get to.
yep. Um, Bert said he's always uneasy at White Hill.
Good.
But I found
Something's
out
going on.
a couple other venues nearby. Jenny and the theater that she works with, the Ritz Carlton, I believe, is close there. And there's a
Okay.
venue
Okay.
called West Hill that is about 15 minutes from White Hill.
Interesting.
That is open for paranormal investigations too. So I'll get you some more information on that one, Jamie. It may be another place that's within like that 2 hour,
Yeah, it's
215-minute thing.
it's in our
That's
wheelhouse, right?
yeah. So
Well, it's one of our. It's another road trip, right? You kind of
mhm.
connect some dots,
Yep,
make a weekend of it.
yep. So
All right.
anyway,
Yeah.
here's go ahead. Oh, sorry.
I want to say here we have our public events coming up. So August 10th is our next episode at the brewery episode, like we're talking about the podcast. It's our next public event at the brewery. Tickets are still available there. They are starting to go though, and they certainly will go closer to. We have about 2 weeks for that. September 7th, September 28th, October 12th. Normal Investigations. The 19th again is a spectacular event, and then we'll wrap up the year on November 16th and December 7th. And then dates for next year will come, soon as we get closer to that. So, but they won't be too far off. So, yeah, if you have not had a chance, Booby's Brewery is on the National Historical Register. It's been in existence since the 1830s, 40s, in that window. It is a working brewery still. So it is a really cool old place that's got lots of stuff going on. So we invite you to come out and even just to hang out for dinner. It's a really great place. So mentioned
Mhm.
already. But come investigate with us. It'll be great.
Yeah, it's a perfect Saturday night. Go have dinner, then come
Yeah.
investigate with us.
Yeah.
Keep
Walk it
yourself
off.
busy
Right.
from like 7 to 2 a.m.
Yeah. Because that's when the troubles happen.
Hmm So, well, Todd and Carmela know all about West Hill. So,
Very
and
cool.
I met Beth O'Brien this weekend. So yep.
Excellent. All right.
So
Well, we
sounds
have
like
an
a
in.
place to meet Todd and Carmela for you, Jamie.
Finally, right? Yeah. So something will come up, I'm sure. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, I'm in. Let's get it. Let's make it happen.
So,
Love it.
all right. Any final thoughts, Jamie?
Um, no, thanks for this. Thanks for this topic. It is something I will admit that I don't know much about. I didn't know much about. I've heard of, and I've
Hmm
I've done it. I've known enough to not know enough, kind of thing.
hmm
But I'm familiar at least to know I can say what it is, but I couldn't tell you how it happens. The actions and activities of it. And now I know a lot more, and I'm very curious. So, and that's kind of what we're aiming for, right?
Yep.
To share enough to
We don't have
spark
all
the
the
interest.
answers, but we get you to
Right.
ask more
We'll
questions.
start a conversation, right?
Yep.
That's what we've always
Exactly.
been about. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. I would like to remind you all that we have expanded our access where you can find us. We mentioned before, but we're now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and also Audible. So if you're finding us out there, keep in mind this is a live broadcast, so we apologize for being perfectly imperfect with what we do and how we do it. We do have visuals, so if you're listening, there is an audio, visual version of this available as well on the video tab of your outlet. And with that too, we always ask if you would please, we'd love to get a 5-star review if possible. We're not greedy. We're not asking for 6 or 7 or even 8 stars. So, I'm sure there exist, the bigger, everything's bigger and better with more. So, but if you're out there, give us a like, drop us a comment if you can. And if your platform allows, any kind of review, we'd love to hear how we're doing, and we're going to share some context here for us, how to reach us too. But if you want to drop us a line, you have something you want us to talk about, you have your own story you'd like us to cover for you, we'll be happy to. So,
yep.
Spotify, thanks guys.
Spotify allows for comments, and I don't know if you noticed, Jamie, but there's a poll up on some of the.
Yes, I have noticed that.
So check out the polls and add your answer. The polls are closed ended, so currently I think everything that's up goes through August 31st.
Yeah.
So, but feel free to come or comment and add your input to the polls. So, just try to get some feedback from everybody. So, so the last thing, I guess we got to put the slide back up, don't we?
So here's how to find us. Obviously, I think a lot of folks find us on our usual platforms of Facebook and YouTube, but obviously, we have some other socials out there too: TikTok, Instagram. Here's our email address. It is Paranormal Lens Podcast, all spelled out, at gmail.com. And then a link to find us on Spotify. But if you just search Paranormal Lens, we'll come up right away. So we're not hard to find. And we appreciate anybody who's out there listening. Thanks for taking a little time with us. And we hope to see you around the way next week and every week after.
That's right. So, all right. So on that note, we're just going to say goodbye, everybody. Have a good week.
Yeah. Good night. See you next time.
Good night.